I mocked my husband in front of my lover during an office party and turned him into a monster. I am 27 years old and have been married to my husband, Andrew, 28, for 5 years. We've been together for 7. Andrew is the kind of man most women dream of. We met at a subway station when I was running late for work, juggling my coffee, my purse, and my phone all at once. I nearly dropped everything, but he caught my cup just before it spilled all over my blouse. It was a small thing, but the way he smiled, the way he asked if I was okay, it was like something out of a movie. We talked the entire ride, and when we got off at the same station he asked for my number. From that day on we were inseparable. Andrew has always been stable, reliable, the type of man who would give his last dollar to a stranger. He volunteers at shelters, donates whenever he can, and is always the first to offer help to friends and family. That was one of the reasons I fell in love with him. 2 years after we started dating, he proposed in the most thoughtful way possible. He took me back to the subway station where we first met and dropped a coffee cup with a ring inside. I cried. I was so sure I had found my forever. For years I was happy. We built a life together. Andrew worked tirelessly to support us, sometimes pulling long hours so we could save for a house, a future, everything. He never complained, never asked for anything in return. And maybe that's where the problem began, because as much as I loved him, as good as he was to me, my life started to feel monotonous. Then Stan appeared. I met Stan, 25, at work. He was charming, confident, and had an energy I hadn't felt in years. He flirted with me openly and I should have stopped him. I knew it was wrong, but I liked the attention. Andrew was always busy, always tired. I knew he loved me, but the passion, the spontaneity, had faded between mortgage payments and meal planning. Stan noticed me in a way I hadn't been noticed in a long time, and I let him. At first it was harmless. Work lunches, inside jokes, playful flirting. But one night, working late, just the two of us in the office, we kissed before I knew what was happening. I should have stopped it. I should have gone home and confessed everything to my husband. Instead, I let it happen. I let it escalate. I slept with him that night. The next morning I felt sick. I told Stan it was a mistake, that it couldn't happen again, but he didn't give up. He kept pursuing me, and deep down I wanted him to. I fell for it again and again. Andrew knew something was wrong. He noticed the change in me. He started asking if I was okay, if work was stressing me out. He became more affectionate, more present, trying to reach me in ways I should have been grateful for. And still I kept lying. I hid messages, deleted texts, made up excuses. When I came home late, some coworkers started to notice. My best friend at work, Kate, pulled me aside one day and told me straight up, "What you're doing is disgusting. Andrew doesn't deserve this." I laughed it off. I told myself Kate didn't understand, that I deserved this. I deserved to feel desired, alive. I convinced myself that as long as Andrew didn't find out, I wasn't hurting anyone, but deep down, I knew it was a lie. Andrew is the kind of man who stops his car to help a stranded stranger, who remembers my favorite flowers and brings them to me just because. When my mother was sick, he stayed up all night researching treatments, holding me while I cried. And yet, here I was, betraying him in the worst way possible. I don't know how much longer I can keep this up. I don't know if I even want to stop, because the truth is, I love Andrew, but I desire Stan. I'm a horrible person, and the worst part is, I don't plan on telling Andrew the truth. I just needed to get this off my chest. Update 1. I thought I was untouchable until everything came crashing down. I don't know exactly when it happened, but at some point, I became arrogant. In the beginning I was cautious. I deleted messages and watched every detail to leave no trace. But over time, as my affair with Stan, 25, intensified, I stopped caring. I started treating Andrew, 28, differently, as if he were a burden rather than the man who had given everything for me. And he tried. Oh, how he tried. Andrew noticed I was pulling away. Instead of getting angry, he became more affectionate. He planned date nights. He brought me small surprise gifts. He even started coming home from work earlier to spend more time with me, but none of it was enough for me. I began to see him as boring, as a routine I no longer wanted. While Stan made me feel alive, Andrew became just another chore. I barely hid my resentment. I'd roll my eyes at his kind gestures. I'd ignore his thoughtful details. I treated his love as something disposable. I convinced myself that I was better than the life he offered me. And although guilt would sometimes surface, I pushed it down and silenced it. Then came the night of the party, the night everything changed. It was a company event, one I didn't tell Andrew about because I wanted to spend time alone with Stan. By that point, the whole office knew about us. I didn't care anymore. My best friend Kate had begged me to stop, telling me I was playing with fire, but I just laughed in her face as I always did. The party was in full swing. Music, laughter, drinks everywhere. Stan and I were in our own world, wrapped up in each other, stealing kisses without a care in the world. And then he showed up. Andrew. I didn't even realize he was there until it was too late. Someone must have told him, or maybe he just followed his gut. 1 second I was kissing Stan, and the next Andrew was standing a few feet away watching us. At first, he looked confused as if he couldn't process what he was seeing. Then that confusion morphed into fury. Without thinking, Andrew punched Stan right in the face. The impact was brutal. Stan fell backward, blood pouring from his nose. But before Andrew could do anything else, I stepped between them and defended Stan. Andrew froze, looking at me as if I were a stranger. The entire party stopped. The music died down, conversations faded, and everyone stared at us. Then Andrew asked me the question that changed everything. "What are you doing?" And I smiled. I smiled, arrogance dripping from every word, and told him the truth. Stan and I have been together for a while now. Andrew didn't move. He was breathing heavily, his fists clenched. His eyes, those warm, kind eyes I had always loved, were now empty. But I wasn't finished. I told him he was boring, that I needed excitement in my life, that he was lucky I had stayed with him for so long. Stan, with his bleeding nose, smirked. Then he looked at Andrew and said, "You don't deserve her." I expected Andrew to yell, to fight, to break down. But no. He just gave me a long, silent look. Then he turned and walked away. He didn't argue, didn't scream, didn't ask for an explanation. He just left. The party was silent, everyone frozen. But I didn't care. In my mind I had won. I was free. The truth was out and it felt good. Or at least that's what I told myself. Because deep down something felt wrong, a feeling I couldn't shake, as if something huge was about to happen, and I had no idea what it was. Update 2. The dominoes began to fall. I thought I had won on the night of the party. When I finally told Andrew, 28, the truth, I felt invincible. I had done what I wanted for so long, and now that everything was out in the open, I believed it no longer mattered. Andrew left, yes, but I knew he'd be back. He always came back. He was so predictable. What I didn't know was that by exposing my affair so publicly, I had started a chain reaction I could no longer control. The news spread like wildfire. It wasn't long before both Andrew's family and mine found out everything. Andrew's parents, who had treated me like a daughter, were furious. His mother called me, her voice trembling with rage. "How could you do this to him, to us? He gave you everything." I laughed. "Since when is this about you?" I said. "I'm just doing what makes me happy. If Andrew can't keep me entertained, that's not my problem." She hung up. Next came my own parents. My mother was in shock. My father was furious. "We raised you better than this," he told me. I gave them the same response I gave everyone else. I did what I wanted to do. I deserve excitement, passion. I deserve more than a boring marriage. They didn't accept it. My father called me selfish. My mother was crying. Before I could say anything else, they ended the call. Fine, I thought. Let them be angry. They'll get over it. That's when the real problems began. I thought my job was secure. I was one of the best in my department, my numbers were flawless, my record impeccable. But suddenly, I was put on a performance improvement plan, PIP. I knew what a PIP meant. It was the company's polite way of getting rid of someone without firing them outright. Still, I wasn't worried. Stan was put on one too, though he didn't take it as well as I did. Instead of fighting it, he was transferred to another department. Just like that, they separated us. He was upset, and for the first time since this all began, I noticed cracks in his confidence. But I didn't care. I had contacts in HR, friends who had always looked out for me. They wouldn't let anything happen to me. I was sure I'd be back in my old position soon enough. The biggest surprise, however, was Andrew. After the party, he didn't scream at me, didn't seek me out, didn't demand an explanation. He just left. When I got home, his side of the closet was empty. His things, his clothes, his work equipment, even the small mementos he had collected over the years, everything was gone. He took only what was necessary and left without a word. I didn't look for him. In my mind, I knew he would be back. He always did. He needed me more than I needed him. Or so I thought. But deep down, something felt wrong. For the first time, a small voice whispered, "What if you're wrong?" Update 3. The walls were closing in. It had been 6 months since my affair with Stan, 25, became public, and for a while, I thought I had won. Andrew, 28, was completely out of my life. No texts, no calls, nothing. It was as if he had been erased from the world. I moved out of our old apartment and in with Stan. Things were going well, or at least that's what I kept telling myself. We were still together, still having fun, still enjoying the life we had chosen. At work, my plan had worked. I got through the PIP without a problem. I knew it was just a formality, a strategy by the company to try and get rid of me, but I played the game and won. In the office, everyone knew I had gotten away with it. I was given my old position back as if nothing had happened. I felt the stares, the whispers, the stifled laughs, but I didn't care. They could talk all they wanted. I was untouchable. Or so I thought. At first, I barely noticed it. Small details. A couple of new hires in my department, people I didn't know. Then it wasn't just that. My entire team started to change. One by one, my colleagues of many years were replaced, transferred, or let go. Even my friends in HR, the ones who had always been on my side, vanished, transferred, relocated, or offered better opportunities at other branches. Then came the new projects. My new boss, someone I barely knew, started assigning me impossible tasks, ridiculous deadlines, unrealistic expectations, and zero support. Every time I asked for help, I was ignored or given vague answers that were useless. I started to stumble, something I wasn't used to. The worst part was that when I complained to HR, they no longer had my back. I mentioned my connections, expecting them to back down, but instead, they gave me a formal warning for inappropriate conduct. For the first time since this all began, I felt my confidence crack. Stan, my escape, my exciting affair, wasn't doing well either. Since his transfer, he wasn't the same. He was no longer the confident, charming, and bold guy who had won me over. He was stressed, irritable, exhausted. His performance at work was plummeting, and the pressure was showing. At home, he took it out on me. He spoke to me harshly, avoided me, and got annoyed over anything. The playful energy that had drawn me to him was slowly fading. At first, I ignored it, telling myself it was just a rough patch. But deep down, I knew the truth. The magic was falling apart. I'm not stupid. I knew people were talking about me behind my back. That had been the case since the scandal went public, but this time it was different. The new employees, the ones who replaced my old colleagues, barely spoke to me, and only when absolutely necessary. When I walked into a room, conversations would stop. When I walked down the hall, I could feel their eyes on me. And then my friends, the few I had left, started to disappear. First, it was unanswered messages, then declined invitations, and before I knew it, total silence. Something was happening, something big, and for the first time, I wasn't sure I could come out on top. Update 4. The game had just begun. For months, I ignored the uneasy feeling growing inside me. Andrew, 28, had vanished completely after that night at the party. No messages, no calls, no trace. My family had gone silent too. It was as if they had erased me from their lives. At first, I didn't care. I had Stan, I had my job, I had my freedom. But slowly things started to change. Something strange was happening at the company, and I could no longer pretend not to notice. Everyone who had ever supported me was gone. My closest friends were demoted or fired, some suddenly dealing with personal problems, or making mistakes they had never made before. Even Kate, my ex-best friend who had warned me time and time again, refused to speak to me. I tried to contact her several times, but she either didn't respond or answered with absolute coldness. Eventually, I stopped trying. For the first time, I was truly alone, and I didn't like it. Stan, 25, was still the same charmer at home. Attentive, affectionate, flirtatious. He always told me how lucky we were to have each other. But at work, things were going badly. He was no longer treated like a rising star. His workload increased, his projects became more difficult, and I could see the weight of failure in his eyes. His shoulders would tense every time he checked his emails. His confident smile would disappear when he talked about his day. Still, when we were together, he hid it. He'd still hug me when he got home, whisper sweet things, and act as if nothing could touch us. But I could feel it, something was breaking beneath the surface. And then Andrew returned. I was at my desk, completely overwhelmed. My boss had left me with an impossible project on a ridiculous deadline. My head was pounding and I felt like everything was falling apart. Suddenly the office went silent. I felt the stares, looked up, and there he was. Andrew. But not the Andrew I remembered. The man in front of me was not my kind, gentle, patient husband. No. This Andrew was wearing an expensive suit, perfectly tailored to his body. His posture was firm, imposing, authoritative. His hair was perfectly styled, his face clean-shaven. His eyes were no longer warm or sweet, they were cold, expressionless, like pure iron. A chill ran down my spine. Andrew, I managed to say, barely a whisper. Without a word, he dropped a stack of papers on my desk. They were divorce papers. The weight of the impact was like a punch to the chest. No, this wasn't how it was supposed to be. He wasn't supposed to look this good. He wasn't supposed to have moved on. He was supposed to be broken without me. But the man in front of me wasn't broken. He was triumphant. He leaned in slightly, just enough for only me to hear, and said in a low, firm voice so cold it froze my blood, "See you in court." I felt all my colleagues' eyes on me. Everyone was watching, everyone was judging, and something inside me snapped. I screamed at him, filled with rage, "You're pathetic, Andrew." He didn't flinch, didn't react. He just smiled, a cold smirk, and said in a voice of ice, "The game has just begun." Then he turned and walked out. And for the first time since this all started, I felt fear. Real, deep, paralyzing fear. The man I had once controlled, manipulated, and looked down on was gone. And the man who had replaced him was going to destroy me. Update 5. The consequences. I used to think I was untouchable, that no matter what I did, I could always land on my feet, that everything would eventually go my way. I was wrong. The divorce with Andrew, 28, wasn't just a separation, it was a war. And he didn't just want a divorce, he wanted to see me destroyed. He fought for every cent, every asset, every advantage. And the worst part was he was winning. I thought I would at least walk away with something, but every time my lawyer tried to negotiate, Andrew's legal team crushed us. His case was solid, flawless. He had evidence. Messages, receipts, even witness statements from people at work who knew about the affair. And not only that, Andrew also sued Stan, 25, for alienation of affection and intentional infliction of emotional distress, seeking damages. When we met with our lawyer, I thought he would tell us Andrew was just trying to intimidate us, but his expression changed as he read the documents. He has a very strong case, he told us. If this goes to trial, he could take everything from you. The best you can do is settle. I felt sick. Stan was furious. Andrew's just being a vindictive child, he yelled, but the lawyer shook his head. This isn't revenge, it's strategy. He's building something bigger. I expected my parents to calm down over time, to at least hear my side of the story. They didn't. In fact, they made it crystal clear. "You are a disgrace," my father told me. "We didn't raise you for this. You ruined your marriage for nothing," my mother added through tears. Even my siblings refused to talk to me. For the first time in my life, I was completely alone. I thought if Andrew wanted a war, I could play too. Stan and I started bad-mouthing him on social media. We twisted the story, painting him as a bitter, controlling ex-husband who wanted to ruin me just because I had moved on. I thought people would believe me. I was wrong. Andrew didn't even defend himself. He just posted one video, a video from the company event. It was clear as day, me laughing, mocking him, calling him boring, bragging about my affair, and defending Stan in front of everyone. The video went viral and the comments were devastating. She wrecked her marriage and still plays the victim. Poor Andrew, he was willing to do anything for her, and she humiliated him. Stan looks like the type of guy who won't handle the pressure when things get tough. And the worst part, Andrew reveled in it. He responded with a smile, simply saying, "She wanted excitement. Well, now she has it." At work, people looked at me with disgust. The whispers were louder, the stares harsher. Stan was on the verge of a breakdown, frustrated that no one saw him as a victim. His job was hanging by a thread, and with Andrew's lawsuit, his financial situation was critical. I was drowning. Everything I had built, everything I had fought for, was slipping through my fingers. And for the first time, I understood a terrible truth. I had destroyed my own life. Update 6. I never really knew him. I thought I knew Andrew, 28. I thought he was just a good, hard-working, kind man who helped others and pushed himself because he loved his work. But the truth is, I never knew him at all. For years, I thought Andrew came from a modest family. He never flaunted money, never talked about expensive things, never acted like money mattered. But I recently discovered his family was wealthy, very wealthy. They had just kept it a secret because they didn't believe in showing off their wealth. Andrew worked hard not because he needed to, but because he wanted to prove to himself that he could build something on his own. I had no idea. And the worst part? I found out that on that very night, the night of the party, he was planning to surprise me with a luxury trip abroad. Yes, while I was humiliating him, kissing another man in front of everyone, he was planning a grand gesture of love. He loved me deeply and I shattered him. I thought the firings and problems at the company were a coincidence, that the people who covered for me being removed was just bad luck. It wasn't. Andrew had done it. One by one, he had silently destroyed everyone who had helped me maintain the affair. He did it with patience, precision, and without raising any suspicion. And the company? It turned out that even before he served me the divorce papers, he was already suing them. And the company accepted his terms. I don't know what he had on them, but whatever it was serious because they didn't fight back, they cooperated. That explained why my new boss had been torturing me with impossible work. They were following Andrew's conditions. This wasn't a hurt ex trying to wound me. This was a man who had loved me beyond all reason and was now using that same love as fuel for my destruction. He didn't want to get me back, he didn't want to talk. He just wanted to watch me burn. And the worst part was he was winning. Final update. The price of excitement. It's been a year since my affair was discovered, a year since I lost everything. And now I'm here, sitting in a small, dilapidated apartment on the other side of town, staring at a cold cup of coffee, wondering how everything went so wrong so fast. The truth is simple, I did it to myself. The process was hell. I thought Andrew, 28, would eventually get tired, that he just wanted to make me suffer a little before letting it go. But no. He never gave up. He rejected every settlement, every proposal, and it wasn't about the money. He didn't care about the money. He spent a fortune just to ensure I got nothing. We tried to change the narrative to portray him as a rich, greedy man, to talk about his powerful family, but it was useless. The prenuptial agreement I had completely forgotten about, and the proof of infidelity sealed the case. I ended up paying him to erase me from his life. I tried to apologize. I told him I was sorry, that I never wanted things to turn out this way, that I had been stupid, selfish, impulsive. His response made even his own lawyers uncomfortable. He looked at me with that same cold, impassive expression, leaned toward me and said, "Thank you for showing me the truth, that being a good person gets you nowhere in life." The way he said it, the calmness, the conviction, it was like he had crushed my chest with a hammer. I felt my legs give out and I fell to the floor. I never saw him again. Stan, 25, didn't escape either. One night I got a call. He had been brutally beaten and was in the hospital. When I arrived, I barely recognized him, a swollen face, bruises, stitches. The first thing he said to me was, "Stay away from me." That was it. No anger, no reproaches, just defeat. I didn't ask what happened. I didn't have to. Sometime later, I learned that Stan was dating Kate. Yes, my former best friend. The same one who had warned me again and again not to ruin my marriage. Now she was with him and she had taken what little I had left. The final price. I lost everything. My marriage, my friends, my career, my reputation, my future. And for what? For a few months of excitement? For a man who abandoned me as soon as things got tough? Now I am alone, in a small, run-down apartment, staring at a cold cup of coffee, trapped in the consequences of my own decisions. And I know with absolute certainty, I did this to myself.